Buongiorno, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a buying guide on one of the most hyped and also one of my absolute favorite niche brands, and it is Atelier Des Ors. This brand, although it's not a very old one, it was created in 2015, has achieved a lot of success already and has quite an extensive collection that covers every taste and every occasion, in my opinion. And in today's video, I am going to do a review on every single fragrance that is currently available from the brand. I have been promising you this buying guide for a very long time, and trust me, I actually did film this buying guide many times. I think this is the fifth one, but every time they come up with a new release or I lose the video. Anyway, as usual, I am going to start with the fresh offerings from the brand, so the fragrances that I would say are more summer appropriate. And let's start with the most fresh one, Blanc Polychrome. This is a fizzy, sparkling, very unique lemon orange petit grain fragrance. You get this experience of smelling the whole of an orange tree, and it is the most sparkling, fizzy fragrance I've ever experienced. And the description that Josephine from Jus de Rose gave to this fragrance is just spot on. This smells as if you are sipping a San Pellegrino with an orange wedge in it, and you are sitting in the summer on the terrace. And I would add, you are sitting beside a lemon or an orange tree, because I can definitely smell this green touch. It's not a green fragrance, but it has this greenness from the petit grain. This is the most stunning and the most fresh, invigorating fresh fragrance in my collection. And as you all know, I am a fanatic of citrusy fragrances. It's also very, very long lasting. For a citrus, this has an amazing longevity and sillage. I would say 5 to 6 hours. And the secret to this amazing performance is ambroxan. It does have quite a heavy dose of ambroxan in it. So if you don't like ambroxan, I would say this fragrance is not for you. And I have also to mention that it's not a fragrance that I fall in love with at first sniff. I didn't like it much, but when I tried it and I gave it a chance, I wore it more than once, I totally fell in love with it, especially when it was extremely hot outside. The sparkling effect of the fragrance just really makes a difference during summer. Next fragrances come in the most beautiful bottle. I mean, all the bottles are beautiful from the brand. Every time someone comes and sees my fragrance collection, it is always like drawn to these bottles from Atelier Des Ors. And I cannot wait to add one of these bottles to my collection. These are summer in a bottle. Let's start with my personal favorite, and it is Riviera Sunrise. As a lover of citruses, and especially orange, I just fell in love with this fragrance. It was for me love at first sniff. This is the most elegant, a little bit sweet orange fragrance. You get a full representation of the orange, especially in the beginning of this fragrance, but the dry down is a little bit more sweet and floral. There is orange blossom and a hint of musk and woodiness in the base. It's so beautiful and totally unisex. If I compare this one to the rest from this collection, I would say this is the most feminine one, but all of them are perfectly unisex. And it is one of the fragrances that are on my wish list. Has moderate longevity and sillage, so it's not as long lasting as Blanc Polychrome, but still has, for a citrusy fragrance, a very good longevity. We are talking about 3 to 4 hours, which is typical for me when it comes to citruses. The next one is Riviera Lazuli. Before the release of Riviera Sunrise, this was my favorite one. And it still is a beautiful summer fragrance, but this has no sweetness. It has more of a woody and aromatic touch, which makes it, at least on my skin, more long-lasting than Riviera Sunrise. And the sillage of this fragrance is so beautiful in summer. Actually, I gave a sample to my husband, and I just loved the way he smelled every time the wind came his way and I could smell him. Oh, it was so beautiful. A very elegant summer fragrance. I know that these fragrances are inspired by the French Riviera, but for me, I am seeing this fragrance on an elegant man walking the streets of Capri. I don't know why. This is the image that comes to my mind. Perfect, well-balanced summer fragrance that has just the right amount of the aromatic touch that comes from clary sage, the woodiness that comes from the cypress note, and I think also a little bit of a cedar touch. The perfect summer fragrance, especially for men. The next one is Pomelo Riviera, and from the name you can imagine what this fragrance is all about. This is a beautiful grapefruit fragrance, and although you see the notes, you will find a lot of floral touches. You would imagine that this is maybe a unisex leaning feminine. I would say it is 100% unisex. Like, this is just right in the middle. Anyone can wear it. And it's a beautiful take on grapefruit with a little bit of, I wouldn't say marine, but maybe beachy touch. There is no surprise. There is salt in the notes, and I can almost imagine this sea breeze mixing with a grapefruit smell in this fragrance. And the floral touch just to balance out a little bit of the woodiness and the citruses of this fragrance. So this is again a fragrance that I would recommend for those who want a little bit of a punch in their fragrances, because as you know, grapefruit has quite a sharpness to it. And this fragrance just gives it to you. But it's not as long lasting, at least on my skin, as Riviera Lazuli, but still has moderate longevity and sillage. Another woody, aromatic, fresh fragrance is Riviera Drive. And this, I will be honest, this is my least favorite. This has, alongside the woody, aromatic touch, an absence note. And I don't like absence at all. So if you love absence, you would love this one. A very unique, fresh, aromatic fragrance. It's only in the opening that I get a lot of the citrus, like this lemon touch. Mostly in the dry down, you will smell absence and a little bit of the rosemary. And it does lean a little bit masculine. When it comes to longevity and sillage, this one doesn't perform very well on my skin. It, like from all the fragrances that I've mentioned, this is the weakest one. So it remained max for 3 hours, and then you had really to smell your skin up close to get it. Now let's get to a very fresh floral fragrance, and the flower in question is jasmine. This is Nuda Veritas, and this fragrance is a favorite of so many people that I know. It's a very fresh, white, almost watery take on jasmine. It's very ethereal, transparent jasmine, and I think you get this effect because there are ozonic notes in this fragrance, and this is maybe why I don't like it as much. As someone who absolutely loves jasmine, I thought that I'm going to fall in love with this one. I personally did not, because of this ozonic touch to it, but I know so many people that are just obsessed with this fragrance because it has almost the same effect as Blanc Polychrome. It gives you just this burst of freshness, white, it's just sunshine and transparent water. This is how I see this fragrance. It is a beautiful creation, but I have to say it's not a safe blind buy. Even if you love jasmine, you have to test this fragrance because this mix is not for everybody. And I think it's one of the best sellers from the brand, to the point that they actually created an Extrait version. Now, from the extraits that they created, this is the one that I would say there are more differences between the original one and the Extrait. And I personally prefer the Extrait because I find more presence to the jasmine in that one. It has more sweetness, it has more presence. It's still very white, but it just has more complexity to it that I personally like. So on my skin, Nuda Veritas remains for about 4 hours before becoming a skin scent. And the Extrait version was a little bit more long lasting, so maybe 5 hours. So not a lot of differences when it comes to longevity and sillage, but definitely there are differences when it comes to the scent profile. Next is Crépuscule Des Ames. I hope I am pronouncing this correctly. This is a very unique scent. And until now, I can't tell you what I feel about this fragrance because sometimes I like it and sometimes I don't. And I think the reason why I sometimes just don't like this fragrance as much on my skin is because of the animalic touch. This fragrance has a particular note called hyrax, and I'm not going to tell you how they get this ingredient. Quite an animalic note. It's not an animalic fragrance, but it does have something that, especially when you spray it on your skin, that is a little bit off-putting, that I don't like. So this is the fragrance that you definitely have to test on your skin. Apart from this animalic touch, it's an aromatic fragrance. A lot of clary sage, and there is a little bit of a fruity touch from the orange, and it is a very unique, fresh, aromatic fragrance. Definitely test before buying this fragrance. It's not for everyone, and it is unisex leaning masculine with quite a good performance, I guess, from this animalic note. So it has moderate to strong longevity and sillage. Another fresh but fruity fragrance is Choeur Des Anges. This is very unique fruity fragrance. You have blood orange, so you get a very fresh, beautiful opening, very invigorating, and then you get to this very unique heart of pear, honey and osmanthus and orange blossom, and I can't shake the feeling that there is civet or some animalic touch in this fragrance. Like Crépuscule Des Ames, this also has this edge that sometimes I actually enjoy because it gives this fragrance a very unique freshness in a way. Honestly, this is not one of my favorites, although sometimes I enjoy it. Again, a fragrance that a lot of people really enjoyed, but I would say it's not a safe blind buy. You have to test this one because it's like nothing that I have ever smelled. And if I didn't read the notes, I wouldn't have guessed that there is pear in the note. So if you read the notes on Fragrantica, don't be fooled and you think you will get a sweet fragrance. This is not a sweet, fruity fragrance. This is more of a fresh, unique scent. I can't explain it, but yeah, if you know the note of civet, I think you will know what I mean by this edge that this fragrance has, and has good performance, moderate to long lasting. Now let's get to a fragrance that is not exactly a summer fragrance, but has this fresh sparkliness in it, and it is Pink Me Up. And Pink Me Up was created in the time of COVID. I know if it was created in the time of COVID, but it was inspired by what we were longing for during the lockdown. And it is a sparkling champagne and rose and fruit. So you get this fizzy sparkliness with a very beautiful rose and a sweet berry undertone. It is so beautiful, especially in the air. Totally honest, I did not like this fragrance much when I first tested it. But there is something about this one, especially in the air. I was wearing this one once, and every time some wind came my way, suddenly I was like, what is this smell? At first I thought there's someone beside me that is wearing this beautiful scent, and I was trying, to see who it is so I can ask what she is wearing. But then I was in another place, and again I got the same smell. So I thought to myself, okay, it must be a fragrance that I am wearing. And I thought at the beginning, because I was testing some fragrances in the morning, that maybe it is in my hair. But to be sure, After the shower, I sprayed this fragrance and I went about my day and I had the same experience. So this fragrance in particular is beautiful in the air. Up close you get more of this fizzy sweet drink that to my nose smells a little bit cheap, like a fruit soda in a way. But in the air, it's something totally different. You will get this warm, sweet rose that is beautiful, has good performance. It stayed on my skin for 6 hours and the projection was moderate. But I am not an oversprayer, again, as you all know. So maybe if you overspray, you will get more of a strong sillage. This is the fragrance that I would recommend if you want a sweet, fruity rose. It's one of the best. Another rose fragrance, but totally different, is Villa Primerose. And the name of this fragrance is inspired by the headquarters of the brand in a historic villa called Primerose in Grasse, France. And this is more of your girly rose. It has more fun. So it has a sweetness from the fruits. I think it was pear. It has this beautiful plush pink rose. This is just the interpretation for me for a very plush pink rose, a little bit of pink pepper, and again, it's a fragrance that I didn't like at first. I don't know what is going on with their fruity rose scents, but I didn't like it much. I didn't dislike it, but it was not special for me. Again, in the air, wearing this fragrance, going out, I just loved it. I just loved it. So they were definitely missing this fun girly rose, and this is it. Very, very beautiful. And the bottle, again, I love this pink bottle. The bottle speaks for the fragrance and how it smells. Let's change a little bit. We are talking about rose, but a very different rose. Let's talk about Rose Omeyyade. And Rose Omeyyade is my favorite rose and oud combination. I love this one. This is the perfect fragrance if you are new to oud, because the oud here is not by any means animalic. It's still there, it's present, but not animalic. It's kind of a polite oud. And the rose is this very beautiful red rose, and it is the sweetness definitely that makes it suitable even for oud and rose beginners. It has a raspberry and brown sugar note. Now, I can't say that I smell brown sugar, but I can definitely smell the raspberry. And what I mostly like about this one is how the rose takes center stage. There are a lot of fragrances with this combination of rose and oud with some sweetness, but the center stage was sometimes oud, sometimes it was too sweet. The rose was a little bit, you know, in the background. Here the rose takes center stage in my opinion, and everything is around it, and it's so beautiful. You will get complimented wearing this fragrance like crazy, trust me. Again, they created an Extrait, and when I tested the Extrait, I was like, I wish I would have got the Extrait before getting myself the original one. But in the dry down, I definitely prefer the original one. Here also you have center stage the rose, and I'm talking about the very dry down. But the rose here is a little bit mature. It's a rose that is not freshly picked. It's a rose that has been sitting for a while. And before you think that I am describing like a rotten rose, no, it's not. It's just a rose that has been macerated in a way. It's very strong, definitely for me more mature. So the original one has a little bit of a fun aspect to it. This one is serious, is really serious rose fragrance. So at the end, I am happy that I have the original one. And actually, both of the fragrances have the most amazing longevity and sillage. If you spray this fragrance in the morning, you will return home in the evening and you can still smell yourself. Amazing longevity and sillage. If you love rose and oud, or you are new to oud, highly recommend Rose Omeyyade. Another very beautiful addition, and the latest release, so they released this one and Villa Primrose together, is Blue Madeleine. This is an extremely unique tea fragrance. There is a lactonic aspect to it, so we are talking about tea with milk. It has a sweetness, and in the air it just smells like fresh bakery with a heavy dose of vanilla. When you smell it up close, you will get more of the tea. To me, it's more a gourmand scent than a tea one. So the tea is really in the background. Mostly I get this lactonic aspect with a vanilla, and I think there is no vanilla in the notes, but I personally get vanilla, like a heavy dose of the sweet vanilla, and has a slightly woody base, which again I don't get in the air. I get it when I smell the fragrance up close. So in the air it's just vanilla, milk, biscuit, very, very gourmand experience. So again, like Villa Primrose, we have a fun experience. We have a luxurious niche take on a very mass-pleasing scent profile, which is gourmands and specifically lactonic gourmands. So if you are looking for a unique tea fragrance or a unique gourmand that is still niche-like, is luxury, is not like strict, you smell like biscuits, Blue Madeleine is for you. And also I cannot complain about the longevity on this fragrance because it was moderate to long lasting. It does not project much. It's not a screamer, but has a nice moderate sillage, so people around you will definitely smell you. Now let's get to a gourmand that goes to a totally different direction, and it happens to be my favorite fragrance of the brand, and it is Rouge Saray. This was for me love at first sniff, a masterpiece. I just adore the scent. It's one of the most beautiful, cozy winter gourmands with a woody, smoky touch that you can imagine. This is everything that I love about niche fragrances. It's complex, it's high quality, it's deep, it's unique, it's just art. So beautiful. One of my absolute favorite fragrances of all time. We have here a beautiful date scent mixed with this dried fruits and balanced out with the most beautiful guaiac wood note. So the guaiac wood has a little bit of a smokiness to it. And when I talk about this fragrance, I always imagine the same picture. You are sitting by the fireplace and you have this plate of dried fruits, and they are these high quality ones, not a very dry one, no, they are these sticky dried fruits with dates, and you get the sweetness and you get the smokiness from the crackling wood. This is my favorite from the brand, hands down, but it's not a fragrance that I would recommend for those who love this strictly edible gourmand. So you smell like a dessert. This is not it. This is a little bit different and more complex, and this is maybe why I love it so much as someone who is not really into gourmand fragrances. Amazing performance. This one will stay forever on your skin. It's not a fragrance that is very loud, but you will have, I would say, moderate sillage. Yeah, moderate sillage, but I'm not an oversprayer again. And Rouge Saray was inspired by the Middle East. The next one is also inspired by the Middle East, but it's totally different. It's not sweet. We are talking about an ambery, incense, resinous fragrance. This is so beautiful. On paper, I don't get any sweetness almost at all, but on my skin, I get a little bit more of warmth and sweetness. On paper, it's a little bit more dry. So when I first tested, it wasn't on paper, it was actually on my skin. So I was like, why would you call this fragrance like a desert one? Because it's not very dry. Because I got this warmth, I got this sweetness. But on paper, it's definitely more on the dry side. The incense is much more predominant. So definitely test this fragrance on your skin. On paper, it is a totally masculine fragrance. On my skin, it's a totally unisex one because I get maybe from the sweetness from the ambery accord, from the benzoin. This is a fragrance that you would enjoy if you love fragrances in the same vibe of Larmes Du Désert Marocain from Andy Tower. They fall in the same category, not similar fragrances, but they fall in the same category. A very beautiful resinous, smoky, ambery fragrance. Highly, highly recommend it. And again, I don't have to tell you, the longevity and sillage is amazing also on this fragrance. The next one is one of the most hyped vanilla fragrances, especially a couple of years ago, and it is Lune Feline. Now, this is a spicy vanilla, and we are talking about the high quality vanilla. We are not talking about bakery vanilla. This is your slightly woody, leathery vanilla. And the cardamom note here really complements it. It is sweet, slightly spicy, leathery, woody, and I get why a lot of people love this fragrance, but this fragrance comes with a disclaimer because a lot of people get burnt rubber, especially in the opening. Now, I know that a lot of them at the end, after testing the fragrance and wearing it more than once, they don't get it anymore. It's not a guarantee because I personally get till now the burnt rubber, but I can appreciate the fragrance from an artistic point of view, and also that if you don't get it, this will be a gorgeous vanilla fragrance. Again, one of the best sellers from the brand and the most long-lasting projecting fragrances. And then they came out even with a stronger version, the Extrait version. And again, the same experience like with Rose Omeyyade. Love the opening of the Extrait. In the dry down, I prefer the original one. Why? In the opening of the Extrait, you don't get this very burnt rubber smell because the cardamom is not as predominant here. But the dry down is not as sweet as Lune Féline. So I personally prefer the original one. But if you want something a little bit less spicy and has more focus on the vanilla, but not its sweet side, then the Extrait version is for you. And both of them have amazing longevity and sillage, so you don't have to get the Extrait to get a very long-lasting or projecting fragrance, because the original one is more than enough in that regard, in my opinion. Next, we have an iris fragrance, and it is Iris Fauve. I hope I am pronouncing it correctly. And this is a very unique take on iris. It has the powderiness of iris. It is complemented by quite powerful notes, but they are done in a way that is extremely soft. So they just play around this iris, and mainly you get a little bit of the myrrh, maybe a little bit of vanilla, a woody touch. And the best way I can describe this fragrance, that this is a more luxurious and expensive take to fragrances like Bois de Riz and Bois d'Argent. So these very soft iris fragrances that are very versatile, office friendly. This is a little bit more expensive, ladylike fragrance. I'm not saying that these are similar fragrances, but they fall in the same category. And of course, if we talk about longevity, this one is much better when it comes to longevity and sillage. So it's actually quite long lasting, but it's not a very loud fragrance. This is a soft fragrance. It doesn't diffuse in the air like a monster. It's more of a moderate sillage. Another difference is the complexity. This is just rich. Bois d'Argent and Bois de Riz, although are beautiful fragrances, are a little bit neutral, and this is why they are office-friendly fragrances, because they are very neutral, very understated. This is also understated, but I wouldn't categorize it as an office-friendly fragrance. This is just a put-together lady fragrance, in my opinion. Another very unique fragrance is Musc Immortel. It is a powdery, clean Immortel. It has ambrette and musk in the notes, and it has a little bit of iris, so it's slightly powdery. And I have to admit, it's not one of my favorite fragrances. It's just a clean, slightly powdery Immortel fragrance. And as someone who actually hates Immortel, of course I didn't like personally this fragrance, but if you are into Immortel and you want something as Iris Fauve, so a very soft, elegant Immortel fragrance that again smells luxurious, then this fragrance is for you. And by the way, when I speak about very soft, I don't mean performance-wise, I mean how it diffuses in the air. So actually this fragrance is quite long-lasting, but it has more of a moderate sillage. So it's, again, a very versatile fragrance if you love this scent profile. Now let's get to fragrances that I would categorize as strictly masculine fragrances. The first one I know is a bestseller, and Josephine praises this fragrance a lot, but I just couldn't like it, and it is Bois Sikar. It is tobacco with woods. It's almost burnt-like. So it's not smoky. It smells like burnt woods in a way. There is a touch of amber, something ambery in the background. Mostly I get tobacco and woody notes. And honestly, I don't like this fragrance at all. And it is a very loud one. It's very long lasting and actually has a strong sillage. So this is not for the faint of heart in any way. And it is a challenging fragrance. I don't like these kind of scents. I can see that a lot of men will like this fragrance because it's a scent profile that I smell often on men. Not similar, but I mean where the vibe goes. But it's just not something that I personally appreciate. So if you want to have a very unique and very challenging woody tobacco fragrance, this is for you. Next is a patchouli forward fragrance, and this is Aube Rubis. Hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's a beautiful mix between patchouli and vetiver, and this one I really like. I would love to smell this one on a man actually. When it comes to patchouli forward fragrances, I struggle a little bit, but this one is just made in a very elegant way. So it's a very versatile fragrance, again, that you can wear anytime, any place as a man, and you will smell just elegant and put together. Has good performance, I would say, not as Bois Sikar, so it's not very out there. It's more moderate to long lasting, which makes it actually, I find it a fragrance that you can wear perfectly for the office. So if you love patchouli, you love a little bit more of earthy fragrances with vetiver, clean, this is a fragrance you can go to. The next one is a vetiver leather fragrance, and it is Cuir Sacré. This is again a put together, almost clean vetiver with leather. The leather here is not animalic, maybe a little bit in the opening, but the dry down is a very neutral leather with a little bit of spicy touch. There is a cardamom note. I personally didn't get it as much. It's only when I read the notes that I got it, and it's again elegant and put together. It's a fragrance that I would recommend for those who want, again, to have a niche version, a more luxurious version of the famous Lalique fragrance Encre Noire. If you love that fragrance and you wanted to upgrade to something in the same vibe, or similar, but more luxurious, I would go with Cuir Sacré. Last woody fragrance is Noir By Night. And I have to say, this is for me quite a strange fragrance. In the notes, they mention caviar. Actually, I don't get caviar at all. I smell sandalwood. I smell leather, which is not in the notes. It's a little bit almost, again, burnt in a way. So a little bit of a burnt woods with sandalwood with leather. This is how this fragrance smells to me, and no caviar at all. I know this is not the experience that a lot of people have with this fragrance, so definitely test it on your skin. I saw also a lot of people compare it to Santa 33. I tested that fragrance long time ago and I didn't like it, so maybe no surprise, I don't like this one. And I think the only when working from memory, I would say the only similarity is the sandalwood note, and that's it. And totally honest, I don't know even to whom would I recommend this fragrance. Please tell me in the comments down below if you tried this fragrance and you like it. Tell me what is your experience with it, and if you smell this caviar note. I personally don't. Anyway, and these were all the fragrances. Now, final thoughts about the brand. As I said, I love Atelier Des Ors. It has the right balance between wearable fragrance and art and niche-like fragrances. So it's not a brand that I would say you would go to when you are new to fragrances, new to the niche world. No, but it still have some offerings that even someone who never tested niche fragrances will definitely enjoy, especially the two latest releases, Villa Primrose and Blue Madeleine. And my only wish for the brand to create more florals. As a floral girl, I want to see Marie Salman create some beautiful interpretations on other flowers, not only rose and jasmine, and also more interpretations of a classic cologne, not only Blanc Polychrome. As I said, my favorite fragrance is Rouge Saray, followed by Rose Omeyyade, and then Blanc Polychrome. And I have Riviera Sunrise and maybe Blue Madeleine, I don't know yet, on my wish list. Please tell me in the comments down below, did you try Atelier Des Ors? What is your favorite fragrance and what do you think about the brand in general? Looking forward to see your comments down below. I hope you liked this video and you found it helpful. If you did, please don't forget to give me a thumb up and to consider subscribing to my channel. I will leave in the description down below a playlist of all my previous buying guides, and I have much more coming soon, so also don't forget to hit the notification bell. Thanks a lot for watching and see you next time. Ciao!